Hello and welcome to the little big history of volleyball. Volleyball is a 6-on-6 game where two teams rally to get a ball over a net and to get it to touch on the opponent's side. It starts off with a serve, which we saw earlier. It then gets a receive that goes into a set, which then goes into a spike, which goes to a block. Then the team that just spiked it will try and receive it. If we watch this little play now, we'll be able to see the setup, the block, a set, and then the spike, the block, the receive, the set, and then the spike into the other team. Now, the two teams will fight for supremacy for up to 5 sets, 4 to 25 points, and the 5th set, if necessary, to 15 if you score 25 points, and the team is on 24. You'll then go into a thing called a deuce, where you need to get 2 points ahead to win. In this clip, we can see two people in predominantly yellow shirts. They are the libero. The libero is a special defensive player that is only very recent addition to the game, yet it has been one of the most crucial and the biggest parts in the evolution of volleyball. Now, in this set, we can see the libero going for some insane dives, and that's what it's for, to be able to defensively play and defend balls most people couldn't. They are usually subbed out for the team's worst defender, which is usually the middle blocker. In this shot, we can see Yuji Nishida with a usual spike action trying to hit into the person blocking. Now, this is William G. Morgan. He made the sport of volleyball in 1895, originally called marionette. It was changed later to volleyball to better produce and present the sport, as it is more of a volleying action than a badminton action. The first game was played in 1896 at a YMCA training school. Now, volleyball was originally made to be a sport for people who found basketball to be too vigorous of a sport. The first spikes were developed in 1916 by the Filipinos. Now, volleyball became an international sport during World War I when the US soldiers brought it over and introduced it to Europe and the rest of the world. Now, not much happened until about 1947, where the FIVB, the governing body of volleyball, was found. Then in 1949, the first World Championships held in Prague, Czechoslovakia, were played. The Soviet Union won those. Then one of the next things to happen was in 1964, the Tokyo Olympics happened, and volleyball was featured in that. The Soviet Union also won that. They held the record on 11 Olympic medals. Now, onto the big history aspect. We're going to be looking at new chemical elements, life, collective learning, and the Big Bang. Chemical elements, let's speak of those first. Basically, volleyball needs to have all chemical elements, or quite a lot, because you need stuff for the synthetic leather, all the uniforms, the net, the posts, the court, the seating, pretty much everything. Now, this was the first specific made for volleyball, made in 1900, made of 100% pure, genuine leather. Now, later, with models like the Mikasa line, they would be changed to synthetic leathers, just like this ball, the V300W, is now the major competition ball used by nearly every pro league except for a couple in the USA. It's made with a synthetic leather formula, where basically they get the synthetic leather, they pour it, then they put it under a sort of rolling press, and then they pull layers back until they can form the ball. The dimple design that you see there is to help accelerate grip and get better grip and hit control when you're serving, spiking, receiving, setting. It's just to make the ball a lot easier to handle with. Now, we are going to be moving on to Life on Earth and collective learning. Of course, Life on Earth is pretty crucial to this, as without Life on Earth, well, volleyball wouldn't be able to exist. And collective learning is also such a huge player in volleyball, because if we didn't have this collective learning, we wouldn't be able to pass on volleyball skills like setting, spiking, receiving, serving. Everyone would have to learn it themselves, and also the ball would never have been created, and yeah, all the skills would just not exist. Now, onto this chart. Volleyball is a massive sport, being one of the 5th largest sport in the world with around 900 million fans. but only behind tennis, hockey, cricket, and football, which is very common. It is popular in Europe, Australia, Asia, and America. This is the VNL, one of the biggest volleyball leagues, if not the biggest, where the top countries in the world fight out for supremacy and spots in the Olympics. This is beach volleyball, also a very, very big part of volleyball, usually pulling in packed grandstands and crowds. This photo was taken at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, showing a nearly full crowd at Bondi Beach. And now, may I introduce the coolest new sport on the scene, snow volleyball. Snow volleyball is a fairly recent invention and is usually considered to be one of the hardest forms of volleyball. Now, this is just a normal blocking and spiking motion to finish off the presentation. Now, volleyball, as I've said, is a very huge sport, pulls in masses of crowds, and is constantly evolving, with new rules like the libero, spiking, defending, and certain forms of blocking just being allowed and rules being changed. Every year, everyone is always finding competitive edges in volleyball. Thank you for listening to my presentation.